Croeso, hello, welcome back to RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. On today's podcast, we'll look back at the Birmingham extravaganza. We'll take a look at this weekend's match against Crawley Town, and we'll discuss all the biggest Wrexham news from the week that has been.
RobRyanRed.
So, Nath, it's good to be back. Sun's shining. Are you feeling the blues after Birmingham, or what's the mood like today?
Well, I'm thrilled to have you back, mate. You brought that Greece sunshine. How was Kos before we get into the Monday night, not fiasco, was it? But the Monday night in Birmingham getting rained on with beer and various other bodily fluids, it seemed like, from above. How was Greece, mate?
Yeah, it was good. Thank you very much. It was nice to switch off for the week, uninstall all my sort of social media. So thank you to anyone who did send a birthday message. I didn't ignore you. I was just prioritising sitting on a sun lounger with my Wrexham towel, which was very enjoyable. Also, good fun game to play if you go on holiday is to document all the crap EFL team shirts you see. I was sending messages into the group chat every day of every time I spotted an EFL team, and it started off with only teams that had beaten Wrexham at the racecourse. Maybe we'll do that as a quick question, maybe. If you're watching or listening to the podcast now, I think for the first 2 or 3 days of holiday, I'd only seen 2 EFL team shirts, and they'd both beaten Wrexham at the racecourse. Who do you think that is? If you're watching on YouTube, comment below maybe, and we'll get to that by the end of the podcast.
Wasn't it? Since the takeover.
Oh, yeah. I think they've all beaten us at home at some point. Yeah, since the takeover. And yeah, got home at about 5 a.m. on Monday, slept until... I'd parked badly I had to ditch the car in the car park because we were so tired we got in. And then a lorry was trying to come down the lane, so we had to move the car. I was so tired, awake for the whole day then. Shout out as well to Josh, who gave me a lift, picked me up from my house, took me all the way to St Andrews and back. It was very enjoyable. I enjoyed it as a day out and as an experience. But yeah, let's get on to Birmingham and Nath, because thankfully for me being away, I'd missed all this trash talking and the build-up to it. It was... everything I hate about modern football. Ryan Reynolds versus Tom Brady. Who's going to be it's the Battle of America. Like, what's going to happen? It's just Wrexham versus Birmingham in League One. It was a great advert for the league still to have that coverage and those eyes on it. But I just want to watch a football match with no build-up, not an hour on Sky Sports.
Yeah, that's naive though. In this, that in the job you're in, that's never going to happen. And you want all these amazing tours and you want all these amazing players, and they come at a cost. Birmingham, I think Tom Wagner gave an interview to The Telegraph where he said that only they earn the most amount of revenue of any team outside of those, in the EFL this is, outside of those that have got parachute payments. So only those that have come back down. Birmingham are making more money than any other team. And think how many teams are in the Championship. Birmingham are far outstripping them in revenue. At the time, I remember we spoke about that story that the Mail ran about. Colleague of mine, Mike Keegan, ran the story about Birmingham wanting
Never trust the Mail, mate. Never trust the Mail.
Well, I was very much quite keen to point out that everyone that was poo-pooing that story, Birmingham actually declared that they were very keen. Was it the CEO of Birmingham, Gary Cook or something? Confirmed that they were very keen to host Wrexham in America. So, I know people like to talk down us journalists, but very well done to make that story was spot on. And Birmingham, no doubt they'll be pushing for that game in future. But yeah, this one was in Birmingham. I guess people are expecting me to come on here and be sad that we lost. But we got absolutely schooled, bullied, battered by a far superior team that me and you both thought would win the league. They will win the league. They had a striker worth 20 million that scored 2 goals. I mean, the guy who ran the show had come from Celtic, played in the Champions League.
Owen O'Connell?
Looked nervous as hell for the first time in ages. I mean, what do you expect? George Dobson looked human. I mean, I'd gone on all these Birmingham podcasts and talked about the fact we had the best goalkeeper in the league. I still believe that. But again, Arthur, probably a bit like Blackburn, maybe a shaky game for him. But it was for me. I came away and I was like, there's no point. No point dwelling on that game too much because a lot of teams are going to get beat by Birmingham, and we're not going to play a team for the remainder of the season outside of Birmingham that are better than them. We won't play a team that are better and more stat than them. So glad to get it out of the way, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, I think it reminded me of Blackburn in that sense that we just played a better team. So there's, you can just say, yeah, look, we lost to a better team. Slightly disappointed in that sort of lack of midfield presence, and it wasn't the best account of ourselves. But I expected us to lose anyway, and it's always a bit disappointing when we don't lose very often. But then when you lose and it's a game that everyone's watching, just you get the thick fans who are like, this Wrexham team aren't very good, are they? They're crap. They can't touch them. It's like, nah, look, there's a reason why. And the other context is the referee wasn't against us. There wasn't a conspiracy. The better team won on the day. But this is also a Birmingham team who I would actually be surprised if they're not in the playoffs for the championship next season, because I think their team's already built for the championship. They'll spend more money next summer. He said, with the revenue, they'll have more money to spend as well. They're not only building for the championship, they're building for the Premier League long term, Birmingham, to get back up there and to have that revival. So it's absolutely fine. Don't panic. That is the toughest away game done. Glad it's out of the way by now. And as Parky said, look, mid-September, we're top of the league. And look at the teams we've already played. We've had some horrible matches in there. We weren't expecting us to beat Peterborough. Slops at home was difficult because it's a derby. But basically every game, we've had Bolton away that now looks like the worst point in living memory, to only go there and get a nil-nil draw.
What have I been saying about Bolton for weeks? Naff, rubbish. They're not
that
good.
Mate, don't trust the Mail. Don't trust the Mail. That's my mantra.
The Mail is spot on about everything, it seems like, at the minute. Richie's just in denial. Bolton are not very good. Huddersfield absolutely wiped the floor with them. But Birmingham are legit. And you know what the scary part about that is? I think they can get even better. I think Max, the only one that really I thought came out of it with some credit, I thought Max did well against Alfie May. I know it was Alfie May's shot for the first goal.
Well.
That midfield was absolutely overrun.
I thought Dobson was good because he was like a one-man show at times. He was having to do all the break-up play and then also trying to be the orchestrator. So I think I wasn't too bothered. No, they're just Nick, a better football team than us. So.
On Twitter, Nick actually made a point that you made to me in the stand, which was, did that game on Monday highlight the need to change the dynamic of the midfield and play Dobson and Evans? Give yourself a chance to have a foundation. It's not setting up to not win. It's just to give you a foundation of which to build from, because they had so much of the ball, Birmingham, which we expected. By design, we are not meant to have much of the ball now. But when we did get it, we couldn't wait to get rid of it, or we lost it straight away trying to go for that ball over the top to Palmer.
I think there's two reasons for that. I think two reasons for that are you miss, because it is, like I say, a game of hot potato. When on the rare occasions you do get the ball, you're missing Andy Cannon or someone like George Evans who caresses the ball, who keeps it, who doesn't panic, who's quite calm and good with spreading the play. So you've got midfielders who get the ball and just hoof it long because they're kind of panicked and they're under pressure to do so. And I also think, for me, what I would love to have seen, and I know hindsight's very useful now because it could have gone a different way, I would have loved to see George Evans and Dobson together with McLean in midfield. Controversial. I would play Elliot Lee up top or drop him, and then have Revan and Barnett on the wings, because Birmingham are a team who attack so openly, and when they do, they are camped in our half. So there is a little bit of space out wide. If you've got Barnett and Revan, you've got two outballs then. The passing doesn't necessarily have to be perfect because you just hit into the channels, and they're so electric with their pace that maybe you've got someone there who can go pick up a loose ball, at least sort of hurry them and maybe win a throw in deep in their half or something. So yeah, with hindsight, it's easy to say. On the tactics though, Nath, what is kind of interesting is it's the same setup that got us the point at Bolton. It's the same setup that got us the win at Peterborough. Were those games just games where it kind of lucked out for us, things went our way? Because against Bolton, who, we did say look terrible at the moment, we didn't create much then and they had the better chance of the game. Peterborough, we do win that match, but, say if they'd got an early goal, which, of course they didn't, but if they had, would we have had enough to come back into the game? I'm not so sure. Again, it's going to be the question, isn't it, of Wrexham playing away from home. It's kind of a tedious debate because it feels like an overreaction. But against the very top teams, do you think there is something we could change to give us more of a presence?
I mean, it feels like every point I want to make, I just got a caveat by the fact that I was blown away by Birmingham. I just thought they were so good. It was like, it felt like a cup match almost. It was it felt like you say, Blackburn or like a Sheffield. They are just so far above the level. I couldn't. And look, they will lose games to less, quote unquote, lesser teams, and we'll look back and go, how did they beat? No team's going to be flawless, but there's no reason why at home they can't go unbeaten at home. There's absolutely no reason why. There'll be tough away games that they go to, but if we were to go to a Huddersfield, Rich, or somewhere like that, I can see an immense amount of value in Revan and Barnett, maybe McLean in midfield with a Dobson and an Evans, just to really get the. And you've got Mullen, who can do a lot of running up top by then. You've got option and Marriott, but you have got pure pace in the wings and a real solid foundation of which to build from. Just felt like we didn't necessarily get. And also, it was interesting, Parky's point in terms of just not giving ourselves a chance. It was really interesting that Parky said that in terms of our mentality, that their goal, the first goal, the equaliser, knocked us a lot more than he realized, than he expected and realized. And he said, when we watch it back, we need to get to the issue of why did we not recover from that equaliser? Because we had a really good first 20 minutes, and then you've got a player that's played in the Champions League just toyed with us. They the way they moved it side to side, the way they 1-2 to knock it round us. I was in awe really of Iwata.
I think also we always talk, don't we, about how special a race course is, and we've seen so many times Wrexham concede a goal in the first 5 minutes, and then we find our feet, we dominate a game, and by the end it's comfortable. That's just what happened in reverse to us as well Monday night. They are building something real special there at Birmingham. They've gone through their sort of their lull. They've had the knocks. They've picked themselves back up now. Of course, they've got a lot of money. They've got a lot of backing. They've got a very good team, and yeah, they're just on the rise. You can't. Fair play to them, respect. They just did us. That is absolutely fine. So again, like you said, you can caveat it all, and the criticism isn't just going to be he was crap, because that's not fair and that's not really the way it was. But there is a constructive point to be made there, isn't it? Maybe about the tactics. And I suppose going forward, we'll get onto our Crawley chat later about the changes you could see in terms of personnel. But I think going into the game, I don't think any of us were surprised when the team dropped either, were we?
No.
Considering we're saying we would have liked to see it change, we also weren't surprised when it was the same either.
The beauty of hindsight in football, when the result, if that had got, the beauty of, that's what he should have done, and that's what Parky should have done. And we all thought that going into Coventry, and look where that got us. So, it was the team that I would have gone with. You had to play Marriott again, because you've got to incentivise players playing well. You have to. Cannon wasn't fully fit, so wasn't going to start. If he was fully fit, I would have started him over
What a corner
Rathbone
as well by Tom O'Connor.
Yeah. And great finish by Marriott. He's got 4 goals in 6 games now. I mean, fair play to him, playing brilliantly. I was just going to ask you, Rich, what you thought of the atmosphere, because I have to say we were not in the most comfortable position for the first half. we were basically stewards to the to the stairwell. I don't know what was going on. It was rammed in that away end.
Yeah, again, that reminded me of Blackburn. That was what Blackburn was like in the Cup, where people just came in, no one sort of filled out the sides where the safe stand and stuff was, and everyone just congregated into those initial, I think, block 2 and block 3. People were still on the stairway. Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? But that's what happens in the away ends. You're not going to be saying, excuse me, you're in my seat when that's happening, are you? Very glad I was sort of congested in a very against health and safety place for when the goal went in, because it was exceptional. Someone did pinch me, which won't actually come up well on the YouTube. There's a little mark that I've got on my arm where I got pinched.
We had about 10-15 minutes of elbow chat, and Rich was like, "This is excruciating pain. What's going on?" But your elbow's okay now. You're not still
fine.
writhing in agony.
But same as Blackburn, like that Andy Cann goal at Blackburn, being there with my dad, that is one of my favourite Wrexham memories. So that was amazing. The rest of the game wasn't, but that was amazing. Being there when Marriott scored was incredible. And it was just, for me, Monday was just all about the journey of how far we've come, and you can't get too bashful. You posted the picture on Twitter, like, this is where we are. This is it now. We're not. It felt like a cup tie, but we played them as equals in a day going into that game.
Yeah,
and we deserved that. We've been to so many grounds where you're like, God, how are we here? Like, there was a novelty going to the National League at first. After 15 years, you needed therapy. And then we're going to St Andrews, we're going to Bolton, we've got Charlton, we've got Huddersfield. Rotherham, Barnsley. I'm not naming just crap towns in the UK, by the way. But it's just amazing now. I'm loving it. And I know Parky said, to be top now. At the start of the season, if you told me we'd be top half at this stage, I would have bitten your hand off. So to be top, we just can't complain. It's amazing. And to watch
Also,
Wrexham against Birmingham was incredible.
Funny that I put, we've come a long, long way in that picture of a lit up St Andrews, and the first reply was, lads, it's only 80 miles. So that cheered me up on the way home. Lots of funny tweets. Obviously, we were getting absolute pelters from Birmingham fans, me in particular, but absolutely fine. I was talking the talk in the build up, and you gotta take your licks when you don't get the result, and they were outstanding. Birmingham. My bugbear mainly was because I haven't taken the coach, Rich, the official club coach, since we lost at Chesterfield that time. You were waiting for me in the rain, and you hadn't brought a brolly. You hadn't brought a.
Oh yeah,
we lost 2-0, and there was more flares on the pitch than goals for us, which was 0 goals. But that was the last time I took the club coach. National League days. Had to take the coach again because I was going on my own to Birmingham, and it reminded me of why I didn't take the coach. It's what reminds me of why I don't take the coach. So in another 2 years, when I have to do it again, I'll. But yeah,
was it sing songs?
No, it was the actual journey was fine. But what confused me when you got there was, 3:30 bus ticket, no sign of the buses at 3:30. It's 4:10 before you see any movement of the buses. And also, I was chatting to a few people outside the turf, and they said, "Oh yeah, I'm with my dad or I'm with my brother or whatever," and we both bought tickets, but one's on coach 8 and one's on coach 2. And and I'm you're on row 11, seat 43 or whatever, just random
stuff that designated now.
Oh yeah, I mean, whether anyone was paying attention to that, I doubt it. But just this is such a minor bugbear, but a lot of people outside were very annoyed. But just let people just fill up the coaches and send them on their way. Yeah,
would you not argue that slows it down more though? If people are having to sit in their designated, if you're filling up a coach on your.
I'm saying don't designate seats. Don't designate coaches.
Would that not slow it down more? Because some people there might be one seat on there on coach A left, and no one's going to sit in it because I don't want to sit in that coach. But it's like, we've only got so many seats, so you've got to go either sit by yourself on that coach, or you're not going.
In fairness, given that all the coaches were sold out, I had absolutely no one sat next to me. I think I was probably the only person to not have anyone sat next to them. So clearly, the podcast is not going down too well with the people of coach 2. And it was and then it was one of them where we got obviously kept in Birmingham. We couldn't get out of the spot by the ground until they'd cleared away all the Birmingham fans, and there were just 4 lads, grown men, sat on a wall waiting to wave us off with gestures I'm not going to make on the YouTube video right now. You can make it your imagination, but that's what it's all about, I suppose. And top after 6 games, I very much enjoyed the fact we were still chanting top of the league, and then frantically checking the goal difference to see what one more goal would have done.
I was hoping that I thought we could get that sort of karma that, it was a week earlier that the Shrewsbury fan they were singing God Save the King, and then Marriott scores. If we were halfway through, we're top of the league, and then they score a 4th and they go above us, it would have been like, that would have been clipped, that would have been viral on socials. Speaking of viral on social media, then James McLean. I mean, I loved it. That kind of made the day for me. He gets the worst abuse. You can't even imagine the type of abuse he gets every single week at every single stadium he plays. I've got no issue whatsoever with him giving it back. You might say he's a footballer. No, he's a human being. And if just because you've got the bravado of shouting obscenities and acting like a hard man when you're in the crowd, if he wants to give it back to you, then fair enough. If he wants to see you in the car park, then hey, be a man about it. If that's what you're doing, if you're going to give the abuse to him, you've got to be able to take it. And I've got no issue whatsoever. We've said this before. Agree with his politics or not, agree with his outlook on life. If you want to, you can disagree. But we live in an age where we keep on vilifying footballers for being bland, boring robots. There's someone there with a bit of personality who is educated on the subjects that matter lots to him, and he has a cause that he stands up for. And I know people say don't let politics and football mix. They are intrinsically mixed, whether you like it or not. And that isn't political. The abuse of James McLean, people aren't making salient political points at him in the crowd. They're just shouting obscenities at him, abusing him and his family, calling him every name under the sun. I have got no problem with him. I absolutely love Macca. And yeah, I loved that. Absolutely loved it.
You there's a few factors at play as to why. I mean, he gets targeted at every ground, but particularly at Birmingham, you knew that it was going to be another level. Previously played for West Brom. I don't need to necessarily get too into the kind of the politics around what happened to some civilians in Birmingham and kind of him showing his Derry tattoo and all that sort of thing. It was fire meeting fire. It was two flames creating a bonfire. And you very much, if you want to chase James McLean down the stand and tell me you're not rattled, whatever makes you sleep at night, to be honest. But I tweeted a video that said James McLean's got Birmingham fans on strings. 1.8 million views later, apparently Birmingham fans think I'm talking a load of nonsense. But as I tweeted as well, a lot of people making a lot of noise. But if there wasn't a steward there and James McLean was ready to go at it, they would wet their pants, frankly. And that also didn't go down very well with Birmingham fans. Shock. So, you know what? I was getting, my eyes don't work at the best of times, Rich, and definitely not when I'm far away. I'm lucky enough that I can see you right now. But I was getting people sending me messages saying, "Oh, it's obviously not a beer thrown; it was a Bovril cup," as if I could see that from.
As
how
if
many
that even
away
makes a difference, though.
Right.
You're throwing a drink at someone. Do you know what I mean? It's not really. Don't get semantics of him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Bovril,
I mean,
you can even say Bovril's more of a hazard because it could be boiling hot still.
Right.
I mean,
right.
within the football grounds, they very rarely serve food and drink hot anyway. But it could have been. It doesn't really make a difference. So,
very, very quick tangent because we're talking about food and drink. Friend of the pod, James Kelly, was outraged. I'm going to use the word outraged at £2 for a twirl bar, which I appreciate is only £2, but he was so annoyed that I took a picture for him.
Like you said, Birmingham have the most revenue out of all the clubs
there
who
you go.
got parachute
twirl bars,
payments.
mate. Twirl bars. That's the secret. Maybe Wrexham get twirl bars in, but
got to pay for Stansfield somehow.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Macca.
Macca.
No real issue with it. I'm not so sure that there'll even be a conversation with the club. I mean, what's he meant to do? He typically always goes off the near side, whichever side it is. If he's on that side, he would have gone straight off and it would have been a non-factor. He was on the other side, walked off. He's always going to give it back. And if you don't want to dish it out, if you can't take it back, don't dish it out. So yeah, no issue with that. He didn't have the best of games. Nobody did they? It was a tough night, tough pill to swallow for all of us. I think it showed the levels. I think we've got a little bit carried away. Well, not carried away. I'm still very excited. I think Wrexham can do good things this season, great things. But it does show
That's
you
a question for you,
if you do get to the Championship, Rich, I think it does show you the level, the jump we would need from what we got now already to what would be above.
Yeah, and you'd be going to grounds like that every single week in the Championship, wouldn't you? So you'd have to. I think just tactically, maybe you'd have to evolve a little bit, and you'd maybe have to, like Parky said, trying to work out why the players' heads sort of dropped, because you just can't afford that, because it means if you ever went away in the Championship and went behind, then you're probably going to lose the game. What I want to ask you is, obviously, like you said, you ride the wave, get very giddy once we're top of the league and going well. Still top of the league, first defeat of the season against Birmingham. If you're going to lose somewhere, you might as well lose there. Also, I'm very glad we played them this early, because I hate to be going to St Andrews in May, having to get a point or something. Very glad that's out of the way. Very glad the home game should be out of the way in January as well, or February, since it's early in the year. Has this changed your perception of where Wrexham might finish this season then? Or do you still think we could? I mean, where do you think we will finish this season? Because we both said we'd finish outside the playoffs initially. A month in, do you think we've now got enough to be in the playoffs, or are you still thinking that's a bit of a stretch?
We've lost to the team that I think will run away with the league title. So no, my attitude towards Wrexham hasn't changed drastically on this one game. It makes my YouTube title from last week look a bit silly. Who's better, Wrexham or Birmingham? I think that's been put to bed after 1 week. I still think Wrexham are in a group of about 6-7 teams that firmly believe that second place is up for grabs. I still believe that that's what they think internally. I mean, they won't be giving up on first, obviously, but I still believe we're very good at home. We're very consistent, and we will be able to knock off a lot of teams that are significantly worse than ourselves and Birmingham. You look at Crawley at the weekend against Stockport. Stockport, very good team, went there and probably got away with a draw in the end there. 1-1 draw. They didn't play at their best. You aren't going to have too many freebies at this level. But we saw against Reading when it all stitches together, you can be really good. When you saw against Wickham, it stitches together, you can be really good. Shrewsbury, we don't rate very highly. I don't think they're going to be very good, but you still got to beat them. There are teams like that. I think our season won't necessarily be defined by Huddersfield away and Charlton away. Probably the two toughest remaining away games for me now in terms of how I see everything shaping out. I don't necessarily think our season will be defined. Seasons are long, and when I watch top level football, it is that consistency that gets you there. It is that just can you grind out like what's coming up now? You've got Crawley, you've got Leyton Orient, you've got Stevenage, you've got Northampton. Over the next 4 games, if you come away with 10 out of 12, that is a great return, a fabulous return. If you get 12 out of 12, even better. But it is just that that just grind that you got to keep going. It's easy. I actually think for Birmingham, it's easy to get up for Wrexham at home. Fireworks going off, Beckham there, Brady there, Sky there, and also shout out to
yeah.
So yeah, shout out. Go on, go ahead.
You go on. You give your shout out.
I was going to say shout out to Caroline Barker on Sky for shouting out the RobRyanRed podcast on the coverage. Very kind. So Caroline, thank you very much if you're listening.
Yeah, I was going to say, like I said, that was kind of worked against us because it was such a big game for Birmingham. It felt like they were back in the Championship or the Premier League because it had that sort of tension and big game feel to it, which, even a lot of their Premier League games wouldn't have that sort of hoo-ha. If they're playing Brentford at home at 3 p.m, it's not got that sort of build-up or coverage to it. So it felt like a proper night, and it might only be Wrexham. They might have played much bigger games in their history, but for, they won't have played many bigger games in recent years that have had that sort of circus around them and that narrative. So, yeah, like you said, it kind of worked against us. But I personally think we're just outside the playoffs still. I think, like I've said before, the momentum that we have is something that other teams can't buy. I think that's what's helped us in these first weeks of the season get on through and get some really impressive results. It is just going to be, like you said, how we react now to our first defeat. We just got to remember why we're so good and why we've been so good for the last 3 years, really, because on paper, the next 4 are all winnable. If you did, like you said, get 9 or 10 points from them, there's not going to be many other teams who pick up 9 or 10 points across the next 4 games. So you'd probably making up some ground as well, strengthening your place in the playoffs. But I keep on saying every week, it's just such a long campaign that I'm just not getting too carried away yet. And I'm caveating that early start with the fact we're the new boys.
Bring back Simeon. Bring back Simeon's optimism. Bring back the boundless optimism that Wrexham are going to get. I think Wrexham will get into the playoffs. I think I've seen enough already. Because I think, as well, Rob is incredibly ambitious. And I actually think that defeat on Monday will do a lot for the ownership, just to show you the level. Just to show you the difference.
Yeah, there was that good video, wasn't there, of Rob arriving at the stadium, and he sort of takes a step, doesn't he, and then drinks it all in, looks around, he's like, this is kind of the level we need to get at. And we said in the past, didn't we, that, there was those sort of quotes that were taken out of context of, one day it'd be great to have a 55, 60,000 stadium. But imagine like a 30,000 Kairos. You'd say, if you get to Championship level, be able to sort of fill that out. That's kind of our optimum, 25 to 30,000 stadium. If you got to that level, kind of what we had on Monday night, then that would be superb, wouldn't it? But that's still a long way off. We've obviously got a lot of work to do with the racecourse as it is. But I think for me, like we've both said, it was just a reminder of how far we've come and how far we've still got to go. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Well, before we move on from Birmingham, what did you make of safe standing? Because that is what is planned or was in the first proposal for the COP. Obviously, those plans are now being redrafted, but I would be surprised if safe standing wasn't still part of the plans. Is that your first experience of it? What did you think of it? Will you be moving there when it comes to Wrexham? What did you make of it, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when they did that first sort of stadium sort of research project, they emailed all the season ticket holders, didn't they? Was it club members as well, to ask what we prefer?
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming safe standing. I voted in favour of safe standing. I obviously used that trial. They put the sort of temporary little stand, didn't they, outside the tech end.
Yeah.
Is it still there? Maybe the last 2 seasons or something?
It might even still be there. Yeah.
So you can go and see what safe standing would be like, really like that. I've stood in it at Old Trafford. They invited us around the ground to have a look when they got that safe standing section at Old Trafford. So you could sort of see it from a journalistic point of view. I liked it then. Yeah, I enjoyed it at Birmingham as well. I think it is a good initiative. Obviously, it means everyone's got an allocated seat. For the home games, you'd hope it isn't such a free-for-all. You hope that everyone would sort of stand as they do now in the tech end, which a bit safer. Obviously, I go to games with my mum and dad. They aren't the youngest people in the world. No offense. Shout out to them for listening. But having a seat's a good option for them. I think it just makes a lot of sense. I think it's good for people to have that option. I think it's just the future really of football. It's great that you can bring it back because everyone knows that if you go in the tech end for a game, upper tech end, you're going to be stood up for most of the match. If you're in most stands, you're going to be stood up. If you're in away end, you are going to be stood up. So to be able to do it safely and within the authority sort of guideline, that's perfect for me. So yeah, I enjoyed safe standing. Did not enjoy standing on the stairwell as much, but it was worth it for that goal. Was not worth it, like you said, for the liquid being thrown from above. Why on earth would you put the away end underneath home fans in that sort of stadium? I don't get it.
I don't want to know. I don't want to think too much about what the liquid that came raining down on us was.
It was delicious, whatever it was.
I'm going to say it was beer. I'm going to say it was beer. But
tastes like Fanta to me.
Maybe. Well, certain people were definitely getting beers into their seats, which is not the done thing. But I don't know what it was, but it came raining down after the goal. I saw other people that were a bit further along than us, Rich, were talking about coins and various other things. That is just awful. You don't want anything like that. But we think it's bad with Wrexham going there. Imagine a Villa or a Wolves or a proper derby for them. I mean, we had our own issue at home. Was it the Torquay match where I think they stopped it after that? The Wrexham don't do that anymore, or haven't done for a while. I don't think we obviously haven't. We've been selling upper and lower tier for most teams now. I would assume giving them full allocation. But yeah, I was very glad that all it was potentially some Fanta Orange and nothing more sinister than that, mate.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a difficult one to comment on because, sort of joking aside, ours was just like a bit of Fanta. I know that's not kind of acceptable, but for me, that was okay. But obviously, there might be someone else who had it worse, who got, a very different experience, who felt threatened and, maybe haven't been in a similar situation before. So, yeah, let us know how you sort of found your away day experience. If you did go, you can comment on the YouTube video of RobRyanRed, get in touch with us, RobRyanRed@gmail.com, and of course on the website as well. Nath, Fantasy Football Corner, you love it. Apparently, I love it this week as well. I mean, one of the apps I did uninstall when I went away was Fantasy EFL, and you tell me, I did rather well this week.
I like the fact last week I got 89 points and was third in the RobRyanRed League for the week. You were nowhere to be found. You'd ran to the foothills of Greece. I had to brag to Ben from the Fantasy EFL show. Didn't quite hit the same, mate, I'll be honest. You come back and you've absolutely trounced my points total you probably didn't change your team and you still don't care about it, which makes it even worse. And also somebody did comment, I need to find it because someone did comment saying that they got worse than you and that really hurt their feelings. So I'm going to see if I can find it because it made me laugh a lot. But before
that's the new barometer, is it? If you get worse than me, then you really have struggled this week.
Yeah, so if you get worse than Rich, I'm going to pull Rich's team up because I don't get what happened with your team. Here we go. So this is what somebody said. Philly Wrexham put, as a fantasy EFL manager, this is on me. I have to do better. This is not on the lads. We will get back in there on Tuesday to prepare for next week. No questions at this time. # not manager of the week. # worse than Rich. 13 points from his entire team, or from their entire teams, I should say. Philly, Wrexham, as a fantasy EFL manager, this is on me. What we'll do then?
Worse than me, I'll take that.
Yeah, that is the new barometer. If you're worse than Rich, I mean, what is going wrong? Also, somebody is like fourth in our league, Rich, which now has over 420 players, I think, and they got locked out of their tab. They got locked out of their tab. They locked out of their team even for a few weeks. So this is your team, Rich. You had a goalkeeper as captain for some.
Oh, why did I not have Mickey Dimitri as captain?
Mickey Dimitri, who's this guy? Curtis Nelson at Derby got 8. The rest of the team didn't do a lot. Crew got 9. Crew and Derby? Is that what you had the week before? I have no idea.
Don't know.
You are now in the 200s. You are 269. I'll show you my team. We'll go up to my team. My team did not do well, and then we'll show you manager of the week. My team for what was it? Game week 6. Kyle
You had the
Wotton.
same guy as me in goal, didn't you? You just didn't captain him.
Not captain, yeah. Ethan Ampadu had in defence 2. Leeds lost to Burnley, didn't they, at home? 1-0. Bryant Belongo did not play for Bristol Rovers, 0 points. Davis Keeler-Dunn got 2 points. Kwame Poku, 9 points. Kyle Wotton as my captain got the grand total of 2 doubled. Thank you, Stockport County, for that one. So I've put the jinx on Stockport there. And Kelvin Hibatian, Reading lost 1-0 to Leyton Orient. I also went with Reading as my team. They got 0. And Mansfield got 7, Rich. I've got an
I was also going to say as well.
Oh, go on.
Go on. You go first.
I was saying I've got an ace up my sleeve for next week, but I daren't show my team again in case everyone else copies. And
we'll keep that for maybe after the record. I need to know this ace up the sleeve.
Yes.
I was going to say, coincidentally, because I was at Old Trafford on Tuesday night, I watched Barnsley against United, and obviously they got absolutely thrashed. But one player did stand out for me was that Vimal Yoganathan, who's from Prestatyn, Welsh Youth International. He looks like a type of player I'd like Wrexham to keep an eye on in the years ahead. We've always said we'd like to have some sort of Welsh talent in the squad, and Yoganathan looked really tidy, really good on the ball. I know they lost 7-0, so there's a bit of context to it, but it's probably about 3-0 when he went off the pitch. So that's my scouting report of Barnsley.
Well, look, manager
I'm
of the week.
Looking forward to when we play there.
Manager of the week, Bayern never losing. A. Williams, 92 points overall for the week. Will Mannion in goal.
It's a shame, isn't it? We're going to have to kick him out of the league because he's got Billy Sharp up front.
Billy Sharp and Jody Jones as the captain. Dan Crowley, who got an immense amount of points. I think Notts County are going to be that team where they might ship a load of goals, but they are just going to score a load of goals as well. So maybe
they're good this season again, aren't they? So
Gillingham and Charlton as the picks. I am. Where am I overall? I'm in the top 100 still, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I didn't have a great week. You did. You're somehow going to climb the league without actually trying, which is frustrating. But as always, you can still join the league. You've got a hell of a lot of points to catch up, but you never know if you're keen on your talent ID. Maybe this trophy, if I can get it out, if anyone's watching, the RobRyanRed 10. Is that going to focus? RobRyanRed 10 EFL champion 24-25. If you're listening, it's in the Spotify and Apple description as well. The join code. So feel free to join, but you are very, very late. What have you been doing?
Right then, Nath, Wrexham back in action this weekend. Crawley Town at home. We've spoken that, maybe there could be some changes. What do we change? Would you even say that you send out the same players who lost on Monday night, give them a chance, to put things right? Or Andy Cannon, does he come back in if fully fit? Mullin, does he go in? What are you going to do this weekend?
Decisions. I would play Andy Cannon. I really, it's so early on. And when Andy Cannon joined, it took him a while to find that groove, find that rhythm. I just think with Rathbone, he's just trying to feel his way into it a little bit. I'm not quite sure what he's giving us outside of cardio. That sounds a bit harsh, but I think he runs a lot. But I'm just not sure what he's providing right now. I spoke last week. I wasn't necessarily bowled over by him against Shrewsbury, and Monday night was very difficult to judge. What I would say in his defence, he's played in a lot of tough games. He came on against Bolton. We were under the pump there. He came on. No, he started against Sheffield United. Again, that was a tough game to make his debut in, and we lost there. Drew at Bolton.
Yeah, he's not really
he hasn't had a great crack at it. Shrewsbury was the only one where he's had probably a real fair go at it. You'd have to say that that's one game.
Yeah, and the others have been games where we've been out of possession, having to do a lot of defensive work, and the midfield's not really worked. Sheffield United game is such an anomaly because you're playing lots of players who aren't really playing anyway. Monday nights, everyone played bad, so it's harsh to pick him out. What I'd say is two things. One, in Parky we trust. He doesn't really sign duds, so I'm confident he should come good. And two, maybe it's just going to be a case that he's that next player who takes 6 months to settle. And then by the end of the season, we're like, Ollie Rathbone FC, we're apologists. We absolutely love him. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been, I swear it's the same with Tom O'Connor, same with Andy Cannon. I think there's some others as well who sort of signed initially and we weren't that blown away. And then they sort of got onto the team. It's like, oh, this guy's good. So
but the thing is, people can, Ollie Rathbone might, if whether we're in the Championship next season or League One, he might just come a point where he just clicks. It comes into his own. Players can raise the level at any moment. Look at Ryan Barnett now; he's playing out of his skin, playing brilliantly.
Well, look at Andy Cannon. Start of last season, he didn't deserve to be playing, and then he just something clicks for him, and he becomes a player of the season contender. And now we're saying how much we miss him. So things do change very quickly.
But I would play
I'm
Andy
sure
Cannon.
Ollie Rathbone will come quick.
I would play Andy Cannon is what I would say. I would play Andy Cannon. I would play Elliot Lee because he's significantly better at home. That's the stats would back that up. He is very, very good at home. Andy Cannon, great dynamic between those two. Dobson, you're going to play again. Same back three. Part of me would like to see Revan and Barnett given a go, but you're not going to play. You're not going to play James McLean. You're not going to drop him. Sorry, tripping in my words. You're not going to drop him. And then up front, I feel like the only decisions that you've really got to make on that team, realistically, for Parky are you going to play Ollie Rathbone again? Are you going to play Andy Cannon? Are you going to play those two strikers, Jack Marriott, Ollie Palmer, or are you going to put Mullin in? Are you going to put Fletcher in? Or are you going to do something a bit different?
The only other position as well that I was toying with was, do you put? I know he didn't play great maybe last week from what I've heard. I literally didn't watch the Salford game. Do you ever put Dan Scarr in for Owen O'Connell? Because I just think O'Connell's had maybe a little bit of burnout because he's been so integral, played so much football. We need the competition for places. It still feels like O'Connell sort of starts every game. He's, like I said, maybe our underappreciated player. Put that in that 4-4-2 preview for the season. He's our most underrated player. But Dan Scarr, I've only ever watched him in that Sheffield United game, and I was impressed with the sort of no-nonsense approach. I'm just wondering if there, comes a time where you say, look, give him a go in a meaningful match because he deserves a fair crack of the whip. But do you not see any sort of defensive changes? Because the defending, we didn't really get onto it, but the defending, I was still disappointed with the defending for all the Birmingham goals, even though they were the better team.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think, the second goal in particular, how has Stansfield got that much space at the back post to nod it back across goal? The first one, I mean, Alfie May gets the shot off. Could you do more to close down the shot? It's easy for us to say that here, isn't it? And
maybe Arthur could have punched it a bit further wide.
Yeah,
which
so
it's
tricky
easy
to say. Yeah,
but they'd also cut us apart from that corner early on, hadn't they? Where did Stansfield drop short or Alfie May drop short, laid it off? They should have scored that goal. It was just like I said, they were streets ahead of us. But I'm just wondering, do you change anything in defence? But get in the picture, get it.
I think we've got Wolves under-21s coming up again in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy Cup, whatever it is. I would imagine that a similar team that played against Salford, maybe barring Mullin, depends on Mullin's situation in terms of if he's starting, will play against Wolves. I think it'll be Brunt. I think it'll be Scarr. I think it'll be Boyle. I think it'll be Bolton or Ford. I know Josh Adam played in the reserves game on Tuesday, lost 5-0 to Derby. Anthony Ford played as well. So Josh Adam's a factor to come in. I'd quite like to see him on the bench on Saturday, just to, because if you get an opportunity where you're a couple of goals up, touch wood on my desk now, you get an opportunity, you're a couple of goals up and you can get a Josh Adam on, that'd be great because you don't have to burn Elliot Lee for 90 again, because that is the lesson we didn't learn last season, maybe because we didn't have an alternative, but we did burn through Elliot Lee like hot rubber on a racetrack. So you've got to. It's a long season, and we might be a month through it, but people like Josh Adam can be useful, especially at home in games that you might have wrapped up. And whether that's the case this weekend, we'll find out. But for me, I would probably from the start just make just the one change. I'd also, I don't know. I mean, Palmer's been great. I think you can't overreact to one game. You've got to give him another go. But
yeah,
I would like to see the dynamic of Marriott and Fletcher as well. I'm still very high on Stephen Fletcher. I know he's a better finisher than he is a starter right now. But, if you do need to give Palmer a kind of a rest, I think that's probably better dynamic than going with Mullin and Marriott. I think there's been a lot of clamour on social media for Mullin and Marriott. I think the dynamic, I've really come round over the off season and the start of the season that do think you need that kind of foil Palmer was very effective at Peterborough. He was less effective at Bolton, less effective at Birmingham, but was very effective at Peterborough, very effective against Shrewsbury, Reading, Wickham. So, the value is there. And Simeon, like Simeon was saying last week, who knows whether he'll earn himself another contract. I mean, from what you've seen at the start of the season, don't rule it out. I think we were all kind of ruling it out in the off season, but the way he started, if Wrexham are in League One again next year, you just never know. So, yeah, that's a long-winded way to say just put Andy Cannon in and keep the rest.
So, Nathan, the prediction for this weekend, do you think we will get back to winning ways?
Bounce straight back is what I would expect. Crawley under Scott Lindsay are incredibly unpredictable. Again, did we both have them rock bottom of League One? That is not looking great so far. They constantly defy expectations. Crawley, last time they came here, we won, 4-1? It was in the running, wasn't it? I feel like we didn't get a clean sheet in the end. I think we won 4-1.
Yes,
look, we just need to. We need to make a strong
start. This out as a birthday
start.
present, actually, mate.
Oh,
I did get a print of last
Crawley Town
season
jersey. Okay,
for
lovely.
YouTube, and it's got every result on it. So I was just looking to see when Crawley was. It was a home
near
win.
the end, 4-1.
Yeah.
And then the promotion game to the penultimate game before we got promoted.
Yeah. Yeah. So 4-1 it was at Crawley Town.
4-1. I just think we need to come out the blocks. Great atmosphere, sort of really rouse the lads, and I think we'll be right up for it because I think. Whatever anyone says, and they won't say much in the media this week. That was a humbling experience on Monday. I don't care what anyone says. It was a humbling experience because very rare. It's been very rare in the last few years that if we've lost, Rich, when we lost to Accrington, they were not a better team than us. They might have been on the day, but we knew that they weren't a better football team than us. When we lost to, give me some of the results on that birthday present of games we lost.
I was thinking like last season, Stockport was a humbling.
That was.
I can't really think of any others that were.
5-0. Give you that one, but
MK Dons.
That wasn't.
I still think on another day that could have been 5-5 or something.
That was a weird game. Swindon. We had a very weird start.
Bradford and Tranmere at home. We both lost, didn't we? Which was off days.
We knew they weren't better teams. They had like one or two chances and scored. We performed poorly, but. Okay, that's probably the most apt example. Stockport when we got humbled there, and Birmingham, and look how it turned out after getting humbled at Stockport. What were our results after that? Then what was that? What did we bounce back with? We lost 5-0 at Stockport.
After Stockport.
Yeah. What were our next
few
results?
We drew 3-3 with Crewe with 10 men, and then we drew 0-0 with Mansfield, which was a very good point.
Yeah.
We then beat Crawley away with 10 men. Andy Cannon sent off.
Lovely.
Beat Salford 3-2 with that incredible comeback. 2 goals in a minute at the end.
Jordan Davis scored, did he? I feel like, or
yes,
yeah.
And then it was Bradford draw, Sutton win, Notts County away we won, and we beat Gillingham before we then lost against Accrington Stanley.
There you go. So we'd take something similar in League One right now, wouldn't we? If the gap between defeats is that so positive. I still feel pretty positive. Look, I've watched a game where we got torn apart by a bloke who'd played in the UEFA Champions League. I can hold my hands up. That is fine. George Dobson is still great. We've still got the best goalkeeper in the league, no matter what any Birmingham fan wants to tell you. We are absolutely fine. Although I feel like, that scene on, I don't know if you probably don't watch Friends, probably too cool like that, but there's a scene on Friends where Ross keeps saying he's fine so often that you could obviously tell he's not fine. But I'm very much going to keep stressing, we are fine. We are absolutely fine.
Lost at Birmingham, but we're not feeling the blues. Thank you very much for joining us on Rob Ryan Red this week. As always, thank you very much to Red 10 People Development for the continued support of the podcast. Massive shout out to Hypnotic as well for the music, the stings that we use. Please get in touch, Rob Ryan Red on all the socials and RobRyanRed@gmail.com. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.
Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Faye.